you said it's better to hire the right people versus the best people.
Right.
What does that
So
mean?
rather than getting personal in our company, because I don't know who's going to watch it from people on my team, but when I was hiring my leadership team at this, I had the opportunity to hire the best, hire the most sophisticated 10-year veterans, the people have done this, been here, done that before, and on paper, it would look perfect. Person's great on paper. But
Okay.
when you dig into it on paper, whether it was hunger or whether it was not the right time, or I just was, we'd be a stepping stone. I just felt they may not be the right person for us. And I actually not settled, I should say, my choice. I actually opted for people like, for example, a 3-year veteran in a certain skill set versus a 10-year veteran, or opted for a person who was a VP, not an EVP in a certain thing, because the step up job he was ready for, and I knew he would put everything into it. Where the EVP might have been somebody who more coasted or had to build an infrastructure team. A team would be more of a delegator. I was looking for the hungry. Um, this was their moment. They were up at bat for the first time. The spotlight was on them. They had enough skill. They had incredible passion. They had a really strong why. And that's who I brought into my team. But on paper, it may not look like the 10-year veteran, the MBA from Harvard. That I'm looking for the grit, the person that just this is it. When they come home at night, all their passions going to this as if this was the game they've been waiting for all their life. They've waited for Game 7, and this was it.
Wow.
And those are the people that are on my management team. And that's why I have phenomenal talent. And those are the kind of people you don't provide command and control to. You don't say do this. These are the people you set them up and you let them be the best selves that they can, and
Oh,
give them the opportunity.
Most of us never learned how to train our brains, which is why most of us needlessly settle, struggle, and worse, suffer. My name is Chris Doris, and I want to make brain training mainstream. This is my series, Tough Talks, Conversations on Mental Toughness. I'm interviewing badasses from all walks of life on what mental toughness means to them and their unique approaches to strengthening their minds.
hey everybody, welcome back to Tough Talks, Conversations on Mental Toughness, and I am your host, Chris Doris. And before I introduce our guest today, our one housekeeping item, as usual, is if you are not getting the daily dose mental toughness tips in 30 seconds or less delivered to your email inbox every single day of the year, and if you're not getting notifications, or if you're not getting email notifications of my blog posts that go out every Tuesday, and if you're not getting notifications of these new Tough Talks podcast episodes, then we can take care of all that virtually effortlessly by going to christopherdoris.com/lists, Lists, christopherdoris.com/lists, name, email, boom, you get all the goods. Our guest today is an old friend named Gary Weiss. And I met Gary somewhere between 10 and 15 years ago and have enjoyed, I fell in love with the dude as soon as I met him. Super cool guy. He's got Philly roots. That doesn't hurt. We'll be exploring that at some point, maybe several points. And the trajectory of his career during the time that I've known him has been virtually vertical. He's a CEO now. And he was I think he was an SVP at a company. He's spent his entire career, I think, in the SaaS industry, which is SaaS, software as a service. And he was like the senior VP at a company called OpenText, and it goes way back before that, but I think that's around when I met him. And then he was the COO, the chief operating officer at a company called Aspen Technology. He was at Vector Solutions. He was a leader, and now he is the president and CEO, chief executive officer, at a company called Career Certified, which is basically a school, right? It's a digital school, where they do career education. So I'm going to ask him a lot about leadership, because he's a phenomenal leader. So, what's a really great way of, a really effective metric for identifying someone as a phenomenal leader? It's unsolicited compliments on their posts on, especially particularly on LinkedIn, and he gets tons of them. I just noticed that's true. Someone will make a post. I've had several guests on Tough Talks where this is true for. I research them, of course, on LinkedIn. It's one of the places. And I read their posts and I look at the comments. So people comment and say, "Hey, I worked for you back at OpenText and so many years ago. I worked for you at Vector. I worked for you at AspenTech. And you were one of the greatest or the greatest leader I've ever worked for. You always really made me feel safe." And these are the kind of comments that great leaders elicit, and they're unsolicited. And that's Gary Weiss. Now, I'm going to ask him all about his leadership, about the company that he's working, that he's running, but also at the end, stay tuned. Okay, at the very end, I learned something about Gary that is truly beautiful. Gary and his wife are doing something for the world, in the world, that is spectacular. So I'm going to end. We'll end with that. So stay tuned for that. Very heartwarming. All right. Without any further ado, let's go find our boy, Gary. Where are you, man? There he is, folks. There he is, right over there. Gary Weiss, my man. Good to have you.
Good to be here, Chris.
So I just shared with everybody your bio, which is remarkably impressive. We go back a long way, man. In fact, I think there's only one person in my corporate history that goes back further than you. One of all the people, Dave Canham.
Wow. Okay.
Because, in fact, he's the only reason I know you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because Dave Canham introduced me to John Hunter, and you know the rest of the story.
Yeah, that's great.
So, yeah, you and I go back a long ways, man. And I shared with everybody that you've brought me along with you for the ride, and I really appreciate that, man. And we have a great history, and I'm so happy for you and all the amazing success that you've created for yourself. And I just want to acknowledge straight away here a recent acknowledgement of yours that in an industry poll, you were just nominated as one of the 5 best CEOs to watch in 2023. That props, man.
Thanks a lot. Thanks.
How cool is that?
Yeah, very cool. Very, very honored and privileged. So,
well, and I'm sure it's for a good reason. So let's talk some psychology now, since that's what our podcast is about. I've only had a handful, maybe, of CEOs on the podcast before you. And as I was preparing for our conversation today, I realized there are a few questions that I had never asked before of a CEO, which is a little surprising to me. So I'm going to drop the bombs on you, man.
Go for it. Let's roll.
All right. Well, what would you say is the most important psychological skill of a CEO/leader?
I think it's really self-awareness. When you think about it, it's being aware not just of yourself, how you're perceived by others, and just knowing the dynamic of your team as well. So with being self-aware, I think through my history, the good CEOs, have a good pulse of the company and a good pulse on how they react with their company and how they can motivate behavior on their teams and set them up in the right way. But I think that some of the CEOs that maybe I've struggled with or seen that may have had struggles and didn't last a long time are ones that come in with an agenda, their plan, their style, and they impose it. And those that impose their style into an organization, regardless of whether the organization is ready for it or not, seem to have a little more difficulty. And I think one of the big characteristics psychologically is just being very self-aware to what your organization is going through, their culture, and how you can also just really affect change and put them in a position to succeed and in the best position to be, to get the most out of this.
What are some of the ways that you do that? I noticed on you have a document, which is your leadership philosophy.
Yes.
And I want to get to some specifics of that in a bit. But the subtitle of your leadership philosophy is enable and empower. Right. Enable and empower. What are some ways that you do that?
Well, I think first you want to do is there's different styles, and I think first you got to pick what are you comfortable with, and who's your authentic self. And some styles are command and control. You may have heard of that, the command and control style, where you basically call the play, and your team is set up to execute your play. That hasn't been my style in the past. I think that my style is definitely more about putting the empowerment into the team, letting them make decisions. And I took a course in a military course, actually, West Point, that actually talked about commander's intent and about the styles about enable and empower. And you'd be amazed that at West Point, you would think that's got to be the most command and control.
Yeah, right.
Structure, leadership structure there is. But what they told us, and generals spoke to us and said, it's not at all. Think about it. You may make a decision to take that hill or to take that city in Iraq, but you don't tell the field commanders how to do it. They just know they have to do it because they have the situational awareness at the field to understand the context, the weather, the elements, what's happening in real time, that they can make the best call dynamically to take that hill. And that, imagine a scenario that general or a colonel at the field level in Iraq has to call up his general, has to call the politician, has to get to Washington and say, do you mind if I go right flank left? It would take forever. Right. The point was, he said, we're actually one of the most decentralized decision-making authorities you'd imagine, because everyone thinks we're command and control, but it's not really that. We provide a commander's intent, then we prepare our teams on how to execute that, but the execution of it and how to do it comes down to them. And I've always believed that as well, is that good teams are when you have a great management leadership structure, a great CEO that can provide that type of direction. But great teams are when the people hold themselves accountable and can make the decisions and act themselves, because you're more nimble, you're dynamic, you're able to adapt to situations in the fly versus waiting for someone to tell you what to do. And so enable and empower has been my philosophy, as it's contrast to a more top down command and control type strategy.
So that sounds like that requires some humility and a whole lot of trust.
A lot of trust. You have to have good people. You're as good as your team. And the most important part of the approach is hire great leaders and make sure you got them right. And they don't have to be your people. They don't have to be. It's just the right people, not your people, but people who share that type of philosophy, that are able to be decisive, make decisions, not afraid of making mistakes, can take strategy and say, I know how to customize it and accomplish that through my own planning, my own building of a team, and execution of that strategy. So it's really a critical thing. For my history, that's been one of the areas that I've been probably a strength of mine, is just understanding how to find the right people for the organization at the right time. Trust your talent or get new talent. But
that is
not micromanage them. So
who doesn't want to hire A players, right? So have you discovered? There's got to be secrets, okay, to successful hiring.
Yeah.
What's something you've learned over time that helps you really discover if this person that you're considering taking on to the team truly is skilled in the way you're describing, an A player who takes, what do you ask them? How do you know a person's has the ability and willingness, which are two different things, to hold themselves accountable?
Yeah, no, it's great question. Because there's a lot of A players out there, but it doesn't mean they're going to fit your culture or your company. Mm-hmm. So what I try to do is look for really two things. One is called will and skill. So will and skill. Do they have the will to achieve, and do they have the skill to achieve? The skill part, you can find a number of people that are straight A's on the skill. But what's their passion? What are they trying to get out of this job? Like, where do they want to be? Are they using it as a stepping stone to something else? Are they at the end of their career, or is it the beginning? Is this their moment? I try to find people that this is their moment. This is their time to shine.
What do you mean? What do you mean by this is their moment?
Well, in career, some people might, this could be the second or third job at a certain level where they're just maybe buying time for the next big opportunity. It could be someone who just took the job because they wanted to use it, get the title, and then use it to launch themselves. Or it could be a leader that is saying, you know what, where I am in my life, my work-life balance, my abilities, my skill, my will, this is the place I want to be, for all the reasons that are personal, that are they can be financial, professional, but it really comes down to their passion, what's in their heart, and why they're there. What's their why? I guess that's the real question.
You asked that question?
What's their why? Yeah, I always ask that question. In a way, I may not come out and say, "Tell me what your why is," but I will get to the answer of when I think about making them an offer. I understand what their why is, and it's aligned with my why and what the company's objective is. And if the whys are aligned, then that's a really big part of it, knowing who the right person is. Because sometimes they might be great, but their whys are just misaligned, and if they're misaligned, it doesn't really work out so well at the end. And I'd rather find the right people versus the best people, if that makes sense.
That's interesting. That's an interesting distinction. Well, okay, please elaborate. Just to make sure everyone hears the distinction that I'm asking about. You just said I was about to move to another question, but I'm not because of that. You said it's better to hire the right people versus the best people.
Right.
What does that
mean? Rather than getting personal in our company, because I don't know who's going to watch it from people on my team, but when I was hiring my leadership team at this, I had the opportunity to hire the best, hire the most sophisticated 10-year veterans, the people have done this, been here, done that before, and on paper it would look perfect. Person's great on paper.
Okay.
But when you dig into it on paper, whether it was hunger or whether it was not the right time, or I just was, we'd be a stepping stone. I just felt they may not be the right person for us. And I actually not settled, I should say, my choice. I actually opted for people like, for example, a 3-year veteran in a certain skill set versus a 10-year veteran, or opted for a person who was a VP, not an EVP in a certain thing, because the step-up job he was ready for, and I knew he would put everything into it, where the EVP might have been somebody who more coasted or had to build an infrastructure team. A team would be more of a delegator. I was looking for the hungry. This was their moment. They were up at bat for the first time. The spotlight was on them. They had enough skill. They had incredible passion. They had a really strong why. And that's who I brought into my team. But on paper, it may not look like the 10-year veteran, the MBA from Harvard. That I'm looking for the grit, the person that this is it. When they come home at night, all their passions going to this, as if this was the game they've been waiting for all their life. They've waited for Game 7, and this was it. Wow. And those are the people that are on my management team. And that's why I have phenomenal talent. And those are the kind of people you don't provide command and control to. You don't say, do this. These are the people you set them up and you let them be the best selves that they can, and give them the opportunity in the framework to say, here's the goal, here's the hill we want to attack, commander's intent, and this is what I want to get done. And now you guys come up with a plan how to do it, and with the plan, the people, the resources, and let me know, just so we're aligned across the board. And that's the kind of people we try to hire, and that enables and empowers them to do it.
So that's what an interesting skill set that must be for you. And this could be a segue into the next question, but you use the word let, and I really love the word let in so many contexts in my industry, because it's an instruction that is consistent with human peak performance.
Right. Yep.
Right. When in research studies with putting in golf,
yep,
they get two populations of professional golfers. So these are like excellent, phenomenal athletes at sport. And one group is given the instruction, make as many of these 20-footers as you can. And the other was given the instruction, let these go in. And that's the group that made more. Let is also used like letting in instruction for meditation. Let the thought go. Let it come and let it go. Let. So it's not forcing things. Right? Letting is not forcing. There's a Chinese principle called Wu Wei. Now, here's what's interesting as I'm listening to you for me is that you are really... Well, you're empowering, right? You're empowering your people to take charge, right? Is it difficult for you as the leader to, at times, not think that you know better?
I have to weigh that. You have to weigh it and balance it. I mean, there's situations that I can see the path forward, and I can tell that there might be some resistance and change in something where one of the executives might say, well, I've never done that before, not comfortable doing that, and where I know better. But I resist. I look at the whole picture. It is sometimes challenging, but I think of what's the yeah, if they can't learn to get there, then they're not going to get done when I need them to get done the right way. So I'm not sure that's a very great way of saying it, but I will. It's the answer is yes. I will resist. I will find a way to get to the outcome, but in a way that they were empowered to learn along the way and do it at a pace that they were comfortable with within the structure. If we're going to miss a number or miss something, that a deadline on something, then we'll be more forceful. But I haven't really had that problem before. One other thing, just to add to what you said.
Hmm.
And if you now tie this all back together again to some of the training I've received from someone that I know who talked about people are in a better peak performance state when they're above the O line versus below the O line. And imagine a scenario that your command and control is saying, I don't trust you. I'm going to tell you what to do. I'm going to make the decision. You go execute. Then the pressure and the anxiety raises. They start performing a little below the O line because now they're feeling the pressure of doing something. It wasn't my idea, it was someone else's idea. I'm just doing what they said. If it works out, it works out. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But I want to be held accountable, and the anxiety starts turning. Now turn it around to, we want to take that hill. What do you think? And how do you think we should do it? That person then, gets excited. They start doing critical thinking, analytical. They trusted me. Wow, I don't want to let them down. Let me go think of a plan on how to make this successful and become a reward that person for trusting me to come up with a way to take that hill. And that person starts, performing above the O line, where they start getting really motivated, excited. I have a chance to prove myself, and I'm empowered to do it. And and I'm going to build trust. So he does it to me again, and he keeps giving me more things. He keeps trusting me versus telling me what to do. And that's been a big part of my leadership style is that, and I owe a lot to you, Chris. I actually do use that, and I've actually used that with people. And I specifically, even though I haven't sent everyone to their courses, I actually do speak about the O line and talk about being in a peak performance state. And so I again, it uses opportunity on your podcast to thank you for not just impacting me, but also a lot of people in the industry and people that I get to manage who may not know who you are, but somewhere along the way they went home that night and said, I had a pretty good day. I made a difference today, and they're in a good mood.
That's awesome, man. And for that, thank you for that acknowledgement. And for those of you who might not know, Gary right now is using very, very sophisticated mental toughness nomenclature. Okay. And when he refers to the O line, that means the observation line. Very succinctly, that simply means neutral. There's three ways we're always interpreting reality. We're low grade, neutral, or high grade, and all peak performance, human peak performance occurs above neutral. And that's what he means by above the O line. And that simply means in elevated states like enthusiasm, states like expertise and competence, right? Total confidence, gratitude, and all those. So good stuff, man. So what would you say are the greatest mental challenges of your role as CEO?
Mental challenge.
Yeah, psychological, specifically mental.
Wow. I've been a CEO. This is my first CEO job. I've been doing this for over a year and a half now. I came in very organized. I've always been a planner. And so I usually, come up with a plan, I align with folks, hire the right people, and we execute the plan. And right now we've done amazingly well. So the company is doing incredible and very happy.
I'm going to ask you soon to elaborate upon that.
I haven't had a lot of stress or anxiety with it. If you were to ask me, just you never know when you hire a leader. You just never know. And I think that's probably the number one thing is, are you making the right call? I mean, hiring the 3-year person that hasn't totally proved himself in the market and you believe is the right person, has the right why, is it really the right person? And do they make it? If I do this 7 times with 7 different people, how's the dynamic of my leadership team going to be? That's probably the thing I think about the most that I worry that's out of my control. So you can only do so much, and then you make calculated decisions, you make the bets, you have them interview each other, and then the next person that comes in. But at the end of the day, you don't truly know how the dynamic's going to really work. And so probably the anxiety is that, because if it doesn't work, then you got a really big problem.
How long is your? Oh, sorry.
So fortunately, it has worked. But I've done the diligence, and but I have to think there's got to be some luck, because there's going to be some luck to it because you're not always going to be perfect. But
Mhm.
fortunately, we haven't. I've been able to hire folks that work so well together, that have each other's back, that subscribe to our common culture and our common outcome. So it works. So that would probably be one of the mental the insecurity I would have is my team the right team, or is there areas and did I hire the right folks? But I have. The other part is, I think, if I give a two-part question, is I think one of the things when I went into the CEO, as a new CEO, I went into the role thinking I've seen a lot of CEOs hesitate. I've seen a lot of CEOs not be able to make decisions.
Mm.
Um,
Mm.
and I was always a very decisive person. I planned, I organized, and my whole idea was when you have a plan, execute with extreme prejudice. Don't wait, go, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. And
How interesting. You say that again? Execute with extreme prejudice.
Prejudice. You remember that movie with Nick Nolte, Extreme Prejudice? I think I got that from
I
that.
love
So
Nick Nolte, but I don't remember that one.
I'll go look it up. I think it's a
Okay.
Texas. I think it's called Extreme Prejudice.
Mm.
And I'm not advertising the movie. I haven't seen it in about 20 years, but it was a term that just just committed to execution. And I always viewed it as extreme prejudice, which means you're very aggressive in execution, but when you call the play, you execute. And because of that, I've seen a lot of CEOs or certain leaders in my past that may not be familiar with certain areas of the business, and therefore they're afraid to make decisions. And I always found that as the most stifling element to leadership, is when you just can't be decisive and you can't make decisions. And so for us, it's that. So now the anxiety is, what if we made the wrong call? Because our
Mm.
decision is, here's the four things we're going to do. What if they're the wrong four things? What if one of them was the wrong four things? Are you able to pick? Are you able to catch yourself fast enough and adjust and course correct quickly enough that if you did make a mistake, you could easily correct it? Because if you're
Yeah.
going to go fast and you run the play and the play is going to blow up, you don't want to wait for the end for the play to be blown up. You want to actually be able to course correct. So that would be other anxiety. Just those two things: the right people in your leadership team, and did you call the right play? Because if you're going to run the play with extreme prejudice, then you better be right. Hopefully, it's the right play. If there's too many wrong plays, I won't be the CEO for very much longer. But you know what? There's risk taking. It's calculated risk taking when you're in this role, and I think it's a better thing for culture that the company knows that you're making calculated risks. You're executing on them. You're not waiting. I think it's life when they just kind of become lethargic and kind of wait for someone to tell them what to do, or you're not doing things to make a difference. And we are, and I think it's part of why our company is right now being really successful, and our team is very motivated, highly engaged, and excited to really shape the market.
And we're going to get to some of that. I want you to give me, look, this is fun. Create the state. Don't wait. Don't
Oh,
wait.
that's exactly.
Wait, that's a coincidence.
I have to get myself one of those coffee mugs.
You'll be getting one. So, we had referenced earlier your leadership philosophy and enabling and empowering, and there's a bunch of bullet points or a couple that I really wanted to ask you about. But one, you already beat me to it. It's commander's intent, right? And that's empowerment. Well, I don't know. I don't want to put words in your mouth. It's trusting.
Yeah.
It's trusting that you've chosen the right people and trusting their ability to execute.
It's commander's intent it came from that West Point part where you basically provide the intent. You don't tell them how, but you tell them why. And you tell them here's what we're going to do, and here's why we're going to do
I
it.
like that a lot. Let's slow that down. Let's slow that down. Okay, there's one of those feels.
Commander's intent is the why, is really the why and what.
And the what, and not the
how.
Not the how.
You hire your team, good team, to figure out the how.
Yeah, micromanagers can't do that.
No, they can't. They tell them the how.
Do you ever get yeah, they do, right? And they impose that, right?
Impose the how.
Well, do you ever get, you strike me as somebody that's really excellent at trusting and empowering people to discover or to trust their own how. Do you ever get feedback on wishing that, like, people will say, I wish you would give me more guidance?
No, not really, because the people I hire are not those people. Like when I speak to folks, whether it's a manager and they say I'm great, just tell me what to do. Those don't fit within an enable and empowerment environment. They fit really well in a command and control environment. And I know companies that they would be perfect for it. Some of the biggest software companies in the world, employ that kind of philosophy because they want to make sure everyone's exactly on the same page. So everything funnels up to a single person who then puts out the plans, and everyone has to just execute the plans. Don't tell me ask questions, just do this. And I don't hire those. Those are generally people I don't hire in my leadership team. Now we might have people below my leadership team because one of the managers, this is for me and my executive leadership team, my senior leadership team. But for some of the folks in the field, we just it is execute with extreme prejudice. Here's the plan. We've vetted this out. Deliver your number, pipeline development, lead development. They might not tell them how to do it, but give them the tools, etc. But for my leaders, if a leader came to me and say, "This is nice, but I don't care. I just better if you just tell me what to do." Then that's probably a good time to find another leader in my team. So,
Roger that. Well, another thing that popped for me in studying your leadership philosophy is the phrase, "Don't let perfection be the enemy of good." Can you please elaborate on that for us?
yeah, I mean, it's you see a lot of folks in leadership. And again, these are philosophies that I've left, and I wanted my team to understand that it's okay to make a mistake. It's okay, and that some folks want the whole plan to be tidied up, perfect. They know the outcome, and by the time they get to that point of the probability being what they think is 100%, the market's already passed them, the time's already passed them, the competition's already passed them. I rather than do 10 things and get 7 right than one thing and get 1 right.
Whoa,
And
wait. You're saying so many wonderful things that I want to make sure I get.
yeah, sorry, but it's my Philadelphia fast talking voice.
And then you know what? I was going to wait till the end. I wish that red cap behind you was a little bit more visible because I'm loving it very much. You may, some of you who are watching this, not just listening, you might have noticed a similarity here.
Yes, we have a good connection here, Chris.
Yes, it is, and that's a wonderful connection. Did you ever have? I will hold that off to the end. That'll be fun. Let's just make sure I made. It's going to be a cheesesteak thing, so just see it.
I'm not. So if it's Cheese Whiz or not, I'm not Cheese Whiz. So.
No, I mean no, but it's not cheese. That's bullshit. That's for tourists. Okay,
I'm not Cheese Whiz.
Nobody's no one that I've ever known, ever from Philly prefers the Whiz.
Oh, really?
Over. Well, I don't know anybody who prefers the Whiz over like American or provolone.
I don't know. I like the regular stuff.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I meant. If I didn't say it right, I meant I don't know anyone from Philly who likes.
They promote it all the time as the thing. That's the standard.
It's tourism. It's tourism. Yeah. It's right. Yeah. It's Pat's and Geno's. That's
Yeah.
So you'd rather someone try 10 things and succeed at 7 than 1. What do you mean? What? I mean, 1 and 1 is 100. Man, you're about 1,000 there.
Right. Well, then, but think of it as I got 7 things done versus 1 thing done. So it's
okay. I see what you're saying. Okay. Because I only tried one because I was afraid. I got you. Oh man, I love that. I'm glad we slowed that down.
Okay. Yeah. So it's a lot of people are afraid to make mistakes. They're afraid to do things. They're afraid to make mistakes. And I think one of the elements of a really high performing team is you're not afraid to try things. You're not afraid to act. You're not afraid to innovate. You're not afraid to fail. You heard some of the good innovation leaders have said that. Try things, make mistakes. It's okay. Not sure Elon Musk blew up a bunch of ships to figure out how to make it work. That's probably a little expensive way to do it. But the point of it is that the market's moving fast. It's moving fast. I've been doing this for 3 decades now, and I was talking to someone earlier today, and when I started, there wasn't the internet, which is kind of bizarre to think about. When I started business, there was the mainframe. Now we have the cloud, distributed processing, etc. If I waited for things to happen to be perfect, so there was a known de facto standard and everything, I'd be behind the curve on everything. Just be learning from what's been proven. But the market's changed at such a rapid pace. The evolution of the industry of IT has changed so rapidly that it's all about calculated bets. What's going to work? What problems are going to are required to be solved tomorrow? Where's the puck going to be? versus where it's been, and let me just someone teach me how you execute against something that already has been. So to push the envelope into trying to solve customer problems and outcomes, you just have to be thinking ahead as to, again, where things are, which means try things, because you're not going to learn unless you try things, and you might learn from your mistakes. Last thing I'll say on this, as AI comes out, I worked for a company, you actually presented at that company. We're building out an AI platform that would help predict when your machine would fail. I don't know if you remember the company I'm talking about. And I went to a customer site one day, and I told them this product, and the guy said, "How much is do a pilot?" I said, "It's $1 billion." He said, took the CEO, said, "Come over here." And he said, "Write him a check for $1 million." I was like, wow, that was the easiest sale I've ever had. It was like, within an hour. And I couldn't help but ask him, okay, what are your goals? He goes, "Show me what you got." I said, "That's it?" He goes, "Yeah," because I'm going to buy 5 of them from 5 of you, and I'm going to choose 1 of you, and I'm expecting 4 of you to fail, and I'm expecting 1 of you to succeed, and I just may have spent $5 million, but I just found out my AI solution for the future.
Wow.
Save me versus waiting 2 years and doing RFPs, RFIs, testing, being perfect. My management's going to ask me what my digital strategy is, and I'm going to be testing things forever. Heck with it. I'm just going to go test 5 things, and you guys show me what's the best thing, and I'm going to make a decision. And I'm going to make that decision in 6 months, and guess what? I'll have a digital strategy with a solution. It'll cost me $5 million, but the cost of not doing it for 2 years is a lot more than $5 million.
Brilliant.
Think about that.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant.
Yeah, that's what's happening in the market.
I'm convinced that one of the most powerful, perhaps the most important or powerful move that a business leader can make is to do whatever it takes to create an environment where people feel safe to do what you're saying, right? To get creative, to take a risk. So they're not playing on, in football, the term is prevent defense, which is all about avoiding screwing up. And you guys, we haven't talked about it yet. We will in a minute. You have a lot to you right now. You're killing it. Okay, just that we'll get to the details of that. You'll share that with us. But you're killing it, and when you're killing it, that's when people tend to go into let's not screw this up.
Yep, exactly.
All right. So what do you do in your culture to keep people on offense?
Yeah. No, good question. First thing I would say is planning. Plan the heck out of the business. It's where do you want to be 3 to 5 years from now? You hear that in interviews, you hear that in conversations and board meetings. But what we do now and what I do, my job right now, I look at my job as it's about 2 years from now, 3 years from now, 4 years from now. How do I create value for the company? Because in the moment today, what am I going to do to affect the year? Yell at some salespeople to make more sales calls, spend more marketing money. I mean, product delivery is not going to happen in a day. I mean, there's only so much you can affect in the real time. That's the extreme prejudice execution. If you put your team in a position to succeed, they'll execute it. I focus on the future, which is now I want my leaders to. So for all my planning meetings, my QBRs, quarterly business reviews, people I'm not familiar with, and all my meetings, they're always about, what'd you learn? What's your outlook? And then what are you going to do 2-3 years from now? Like where's the market going from a market perspective, a product perspective, a go-to-market perspective, an operating model perspective to make sure we scale our systems to support future growth. Like the things I'm investing in right now in the company are not about this year. They're about the fact that we're probably going to do a lot of M&A, mergers and acquisitions, and that how am I going to load those new companies into my platform? So I got to build the platform now so it's ready in the future. So a lot of the key initiatives we have today are not for today. They're actually to execute on today to make everyone's life a lot better 2 years from now, 3 years from now, 4 years from now. And so far it's worked out. In fact, last year I picked 4 things. I said, we're going to focus the company on 4 main things. That's it. 4 things. That's all. Brand, define our brand, define who we are so people know who we are. 2 is let's build one platform for the business, one tech ed platform that can unify, support any career. At the time, we only had one career, real estate, to support any career. We never add another career, 15 years. Number 3 was create an operating model that can support it. We had Excel spreadsheets, manual processes, tools, people writing checks out of their office. Nothing automated, nothing digitized. But if we do what I think we're going to do in our plan, we're going to execute with extreme prejudice, then we are going to need systems that can support it. And then finally, M&A, someone to actually do it. We've never done it before. So we went ahead and built the systems, put in the model, built the platform, and in a really tough environment last year, we actually acquired 3 companies and added 7 more careers. And good thing we did that, because now those 7 careers have a platform to go to, a model to integrate with, and we're executing within a new brand to allow them to still promote their own brands under an umbrella. So if you have to think ahead, and so what do I make them do? Is I make them think ahead, but that's part of the CEO's job, is also where's the puck going, and how do you want to get there, and what do you need to support the company to get there? So I live a lot in the future. So I live a lot in kind of the horizons, the variety,
That's fun. That can be fun, right? It's fun. I mean, there's a lot of people that spend their lives living in the future in fear.
Yeah.
You're spending it in enthusiastic creativity and optimism, determination, and focus. That's just damn fun. What's the language like, though? Like when someone makes a mistake, okay? All right, going back to safety, keeping people on offense. You guys are killing it. You're going to give us some more detail on that in a minute. But what's the language in your culture? What's said, when someone screws up?
Wow. Hopefully we haven't put him in a position to be on an island that there aren't. I would never put in a position that the companies was at risk or the assets were at risk. That if they're taking a risk, I'm aware of the backup plan and the guardrails, I should say, better word is the guardrails. So there won't be a situation that somebody will screw up so badly that'll be materially impactful to our business.
Okay.
So most of the decisions that they will make, and if it fails, they're so minor that they can be overcome with other things or can be adjusted for. So, and that's part of, I think, as a CEO, you want to put your people in a position to make decisions, but there are big things that you need to to stay on top of, and you're monitoring progress, your milestones. They get behind, you have options. You're always thinking about the options and the guardrails to make sure there's nothing catastrophic that can happen. I'm trying to think something screwed up. Well, we had a situation. Well, there was a situation, and I'm trying to think. This was one of those fearful moments that, in somewhere in my past, I won't tell when it was. We had a busiest day of the company, and the servers didn't work properly that day on the busiest sales day of the year.
Perfect.
And that was unexpected, and that was catastrophic. That was high risk catastrophic. Imagine if you don't know the cause, you don't know why, but you can't produce, you can't take orders, and it's the busiest sales day of the year. What do you do? And here, the team rallied, got together. They started root causing, identifying what could possibly try to eliminate things, and together within about 6 hours, they figured out how to stand up a server to let at least existing customers come in. And within another 12 hours, even though we didn't solve the problem, they found an alternative solution to stand up the server farms in such a way that everything could go back to production. So we were really down 2 days, of which, when it started and there's no end in sight, and you don't know what to do, and you don't have a solution for it, it's scary. It's frightening. It's company changing. Some companies can't imagine someone getting attacked with ransomware. What are you going to do? What if they decide? What if they don't turn you back on? Like, what are you going to do? And things like that can happen. And there's things that are out of your control, and you try to do as much. You try to have as much controlled consequences and controlled environments as you possibly can. But there's always the unknown. I guess that maybe to answer one of your questions, what the biggest fear I have is that it's the unknown. It's the unexpected. It's the thing that you didn't prepare for. That you did everything you could, but something happened that was out of your control that nobody could foresee. And then what do you do when that happens? Because things are going to happen. And I think as a CEO, it's, that was great. We all were measured. There was no panic. It was calmness. I was probably pretty nervous about it, but the outcome could not have any better. I was certain that this was going to take a lot longer to resolve, and I set expectations with others about that. And turns out it was only a two day 2-day event, which was the best case scenario of all. So
Yeah, so you could easily make the argument that mental toughness is about the ability to respond rapidly with grace, mastery, enthusiasm, creative genius in moments, well, in catastrophic moments.
Yeah,
The times where you're not getting what you want.
I have a security background, as you know, from my history, and one of the major principles in security is that things are going to happen, and it's your ability to detect and your ability to respond, and how you narrow the gap between detection and response. That's principle number one in security. Think about that. Can you detect an attack, and how fast you can respond to attack? And if you can get that as close to real time as you can,
but respond intelligently, though, right? And I know that's implied.
Right. So response.
But that's the word. That's interesting because
detection and response, bridge the gap. So detect fast, figure it out, and then respond quickly. And so in security, these are more technologies, and there are companies that actually do this now. Back then, when that industry was invented in security event management, that was the whole goal: was how do you detect and respond. But in real life, not security, that's really, even as a CEO, is can you understand, have your situational awareness, and when something happens, can you calmly detect it, understand it, and respond to it quickly. So I think as a CEO, that's the big thing: is keep your calm, keep your composure. You asked about mental skills. Always be calm, cool, data-based, fact-based. Don't be emotional. Don't freak out because they're all looking at you. So don't freak anybody out. Don't panic. Don't yell. Don't scream. Solve the problem. All 13. Don't guess at it. Solve it and just figure it out what the root causes are, and that's probably your best shot of bridging the gap between detection and response.
And one of my favorite words in all of that is response. Another way of defining mental toughness is response-ability. Ability to choose a useful response as opposed to being reactionary.
Now think about that scenario in a command and control environment. What do you think happens in the command and control environment where you haven't empowered and enabled your people to think?
Man, wow, yeah, right. So I love that sentence. Yes, right. We empower our people to think.
Yeah. And then they can solve some of the problems they feel empowered to. They don't wait for the CEO to figure it all out for them. You set me up, so you figure it out. Here, they feel accountable, responsible, empowered, enabled, and they come up with the solutions. And this is what happened. And I don't need to tell them to dig up for the root cause. And they just acted, and they got together, they communicated, we collaborated. But I was on calls during this situation, and during the calls in the situation, there wasn't me telling them what to do. It was me listening to this great. Everyone's had opinions of where to look and what options we had, and scenario planning, and we can do this option, but here are the pros and cons. And and we got to the end result because they were thinkers. They felt empowered, enabled. They didn't defer it. They didn't say, "Not my problem." They said, "I'm accountable. This is my problem. This is our problem." And let's figure this out. And it's a good thing this culture is really well equipped for that type of volatile environment, that type of volatility, and that where you have to make decisions on the fly, dynamic environments. I mean, having the people be able to make the decisions and act and think because they have the situation, like they know the stuff better than I do. And if I'm silly enough to think I understand systems and technology better than they do, I hire them to be experts in this area. Now, put them in a position to use that talent and expertise to help figure out problems. Then I got a really powerful team. And that's kind of what we have.
Yeah, what's another variable that makes it a lot easier? It doesn't guarantee it, but it makes it so much easier to be able to respond rapidly with mastery, especially when stuff's not going your way, is a great track record. A track record of recent bad assery, which word on the street is that you have. So if you would indulge us, maybe you could just go on a little positive rant here and tell us all about the things that you're super proud of in recent history and excited about for the near future at Career Certified.
Career Certified. Well, it's not easy to do what we are doing. We've gone from a monolithic company that was the leaders in real estate education.
Mm.
And we had a aspirational vision to diversify our portfolio and become a leader in multi-vertical career education, which means that any career, compliance driven, if you want to be an architect, if you want to be an engineer, if you want to be an appraiser, a home inspector, a mortgage loan officer, these are all careers that you require to take education, pass the courses, prepare you for the exam, and then pass the exam. We did this for realtors only, but the aspiration was, what if someone did this for all careers on a single platform? So, it's, you on paper, you say, okay, change the brand, change the platform, change the model, buy some company. I mean, there's a lot to be done, especially last year, which was like the worst year in real estate, as you know, with mortgage rates going through the roof. And even in doing so, we pulled it off. And so I'm so psyched. What I'm most excited about is that, one, our market, a lot of people have actually shrunk last year, went down, and we went up. In fact, in the last 3 years, the company has quadrupled. So
Quadrupled.
quadrupled 4 times. Company's quadrupled in 3 years during some volatile times, as between
Yeah.
COVID,
Yeah.
and we've had a pretty tough economy last year. And in that time, we transformed the entire company from the C shop, which I'm still getting lucky enough to wear their vest, to career certified, which is the name of the company, which we set up to actually be able to provide really career education in a certification type manner to various careers. What I'm excited about in the future is I think we have an incredible opportunity to just build on what we've done, expand our careers, to continue to build one platform, to tie that into really a career life cycle management type platform where a customer isn't just going to get the value from taking the test, passing the exam, getting certified, keeping up with the certification, but truly being a career partner where you provide information and really a lifelong experience with us as a school versus just passing your test, getting your certification. So at the end of the day, our whole point is to help our users to help people make their purpose attainable. What's their why? We want to help why come true. And at a high level, why do we all work? We work, yes, we like to work, but we kind of need to work to get independence for our families, to put food on the table, to help them go to school, to provide them college, to provide them the resources to do that. Wouldn't it be great if we can provide that and do it in the career they want to be in? They can be successful in their career, have fun in their career, be successful, and be able to also allow their purpose to be more than just monetary, but also something to be fulfilling to them that they want to do. Like you and I have talked about, it'd be great if you have people that don't do jobs because they have to do it, because they want to do it. We don't wake up in the day and say, I have to go to work today, but I clearly can't wait to start today. Some of the lessons that I've seen on some of the messages that you put out in a daily dose, but they're really good, and they're great and they're really helpful. But those are the not just you help them with their lives and careers, but you're helping them be successful too, because again, these are people that are going to be in peak performance states when they work, because they're in a good mood and they're in a great place and they're trying to make a difference every day. And I think we can do that. And so we've got great aspirations for our company. I think that quadrupling in 3 years is nice, but let's keep it going. And I think we can keep doing it, and excited to do it.
Well, congratulations on your incredible success of late, and I'm excited to watch that continue. And the last thing that I wanted to ask you about is, we've been talking about empowering people and serving people the whole time. And you and your wife are doing, and this is obviously, we're switching from professional to personal world, but you made me aware recently of something that I was not aware of. I've always enjoyed you as a person. I was, as soon as I met you, I'm like, this dude's cool. And before I even knew you were from Philly, from Wilmington.
That helps.
By the way, that helps a lot. but for those of you who don't know, so Gary's actually from Wilmington, Delaware, which is, and I'm from South Jersey. That's all we call the tri-state area. New York is not part of the tri-state area, saying Delaware, Eastern Pennsylvania, and South Jersey are the tri-state area. But it's all Philadelphia country, which is why he's got the Phillies cap down there. You're actually right there where I was born. I was born in Sarasota. Do you know that?
I did not know that.
I was born in Sarasota, and my first year, I was adopted. In my first year of my life, we lived in Clearwater Beach.
I didn't know that.
Clear
I,
water.
I, I
And
didn't.
then we moved up to the Philly area. I mean, it was destined.
Yeah,
Wasn't
that's
even a choice. Wasn't even a choice. But no, but tell us what's going on. So you are foster parenting.
we're helping out. We ran into a situation and we weren't ever looking to be a foster. We have four kids of our own and one with special needs. And as they get older, we ran across a family that took two kids in and from just kids, their parents were both in jail and they had nowhere to go. And so in the foster system, for everyone to know, is that imagine what happens when parents are lugged away or something. They basically get taken out of whatever the environment was and put in a safe environment in the middle of the night, like be a jailhouse. Maybe there's nowhere to go. So there are some emergency foster type situations that the kids will go to, knock on the door from someone at 3 a.m. and the kids go sleep there that night. And there was a family that saw these two kids and just said, I'm not putting them back in the system. These kids have been through hell. And the kids were at the time about 5 years old and about 2 years old. They've been through hell, never knew their parents, just been abused house to house to house. And finally police came into one and took the person away. And kids now have no home, no family, never had a parent. And we've never been involved in this, but we saw what this other family was doing. And we said, wow, you're amazing. I can't believe you're doing this. If you ever need any help, let us know. Yeah, we're happy to help out. I mean, for what you guys did. Well, they needed the help. And they started leaning on us and saying, we're just so tired. It's a lot these kids have been traumatized. I mean, they're traumatized. It's not a normal kid. I mean, these kids they've never been trained anything. They've never learned how to read. They imagine that. These are traumatized kids that have been abused and given nothing. And it's hard to find parents that are willing to take in damaged or troubled kids. They look at as damaged kids. Well, you know how many kids there are out there? Like in my county alone, in Hillsborough County, there's about 150 families that have raised their hand, that are beautiful people that said, we're going to help out and give something back to the community. There's over 2,000 kids looking for parents. 2,000.
Just in your county.
Yeah, just my county. My county is really, it's not the best for foster. There are other counties that do better, but ours is a bit rough. But you have this saying that I tell my team this in business, if not you, then who? If not us, then who? And so my wife and I, told the family, like, hey, you need any help, let us know. Well, they were coming to the end of they couldn't really do it much more. And so they asked us, what are we doing? We weren't gonna let these kids, there's two of them, the brother went to one family. We said, we'll help out with the other family. So we're in the situation that we're helping this this child, but it's been 2 years now. And we're hopefully at the end of it where we think we may have found a foster to adopt family full time. Like this foster is temporary until you find someone to adopt. So we're hopeful. So I'm in a very good mood today because we're close. We think we've got the perfect family who this individual will complete them. And the person itself, my wife's a teacher. Was a teacher, so she helped tutor her, brought her swimming lessons. We've exposed.
What's your wife's name?
Jody. Jody. Absolutely, there she is. I don't know, Jody. You see that little picture?
Yes.
So Jody's great, and she taught the girl, and now she says she reads. She can't get enough books. We take her to Barnes and Noble, and reading has led her to confidence. Confidence led her to better social skills, respectful skills. She plays with other kids. It's amazing the amount of this kid is. In fact, we take her to a camp. 30 kids at camp. One kid's shy, sits by herself. It's this person that goes over and says, okay, come play with us. This is the person who has no parents, the person who's never been raised, never been taught anything. And it's a great thing. And it's just, I guess, I don't know if there's listeners out there that wanted to help out with the foster system. It's one that now has become meaningful to us because, I mean, if not you, then who? I mean, these kids are great kids, it wasn't their fault. People look at them like, well, it's their fault. Look at them, or look, they have no manners. How are they supposed to figure it out? I mean, they don't have a bed. They don't have a room.
How would you describe how you feel, how it feels? Let's just say that the family, right, that you're communicating, that's considering adopting. Let's just say that goes through, like today.
Yeah.
How's that feel for you?
Oh, amazing. Probably better than anything. Just, we're kind of consumed with it in the last few days, but you're right. I mean, we stay up at night thinking about it. I'm like making a number and a quarter. I mean, this is a kid's life. So we're at this point that, we already feel good. because we know she's on the right track to good things are going to happen. One where the good things are going to happen to this child, and also we know that we're never going to let the bad thing happen to this child. So we make sure that this kid will never be in the system. This kid will never be on her own again, ever and never. And you can tell she knows it and she trusts us, and therefore it's changed her entire stability and her personality, that she just feels good.
That's got to be so spectacular.
There's nothing more happy. I mean, there's nothing more, just rewarding, honestly, than this. I mean, there's a lot of causes out there, but I think as you get older, you want to start thinking about your legacy. What can you get back? And I think one day, I'll hopefully, make it to the end, and I can look back, and this little girl will be probably half my age at that point, and I can look back and say, I had some impact in this child's life, and then the family that she then raises, and we're all gonna move on one day, and it's what you leave behind, and this to me is very rewarding. It came out of accident, but
maybe.
Yeah, but we love her, and it's been rewarding for me, my wife, and my kids. They all love her.
Beautiful.
So this kid knows that she's got a home, but it's or we'll have a stable life now, and I think she feels it too. So it's making a big difference.
Well, way to go, Gary and Jody. I don't suspect that people who tuned in today were anticipating hearing this last part, but if people who are hearing this are interested in exploring this as a possibility and a way of making a contribution, having part if anyone wants to feel a part of the same level of reward, and they're sitting here listening, I didn't expect this to come up in this podcast. How would I even learn more about that? What do you tell them?
So what do you do, anyone out here listening, is go to your county. So whatever county you're in, just Google foster care network in your county, and it will pop up something, Children's Home Network in Hillsborough County, for example, where I live. But it will come up. There is an infrastructure in the county which includes caseworkers, guardian ad litems, there's attorneys, there's presidents, and they basically keep the inventory of lists of all the foster kids. And if you basically you would submit an application to get fingerprinted, because they want to make sure you're a safe environment for them. So they're interested, and you don't have to make a commitment. So what happens is that you can agree to just be a temporary foster parent, which means what happens when the kids take it from a home, just keep them for a day or two to give them some stability for at least the trauma of where they just came from. You can agree to foster temporarily, which means you'll keep them until you find a foster to adopt family. Or you can say, we'll foster, but we might want to adopt the child as well. But there's always a need for adults, safe adults, who want to help these kids give a chance. It's just give them stability. You're not looking to train them, teach them, raise them. It's just stability. They just need, think about when you were a kid. What would it have been like if mom and dad weren't around? How horrible would that be when you have a bad night's sleep or a dream and there's no one to talk to? There's just no, and you don't know who cares about you and where you're going to sleep the next night, and you're a kid. This isn't the kid's fault. And so if anyone wants to contribute, I can tell you it's incredibly rewarding for my wife and I. It's a lot, and but fortunately we're going to end up, I think, in a really, really happy ending of this situation, and it'll probably not be more rewarding in our life. One of the most rewarding things we've done in our life.
Way to go, man! It's so beautiful. All right, are there any good cheesesteak joints down there in Tampa?
We have this place I like, West Shore. There's West Shore Pizza, which is opened up as a Philly place that opened up down here. I think the cheesesteaks are great. It's natural. It's cut up. You get chicken Philly. You get cheese. You get the steak. I happen to like the chicken Phillies. The chickens. Okay. I know I just had to cheat, a little healthier. But
we're gonna edit that out, Micah. Can we edit that out?
Well, Clearwater is the home of the Phillies, as you know.
Yes, for spring training, right?
And they actually have a lot of cheesecake places, cheesesteak places over in Clearwater as well. I haven't been to them, but I'm not the biggest cheesesteak. I actually like the hoagies.
All right to that. Amen to that, man.
People ask me, what's there, hoagie and a sub? Like, if you're not from Philly, you don't understand that. But
yes, we just don't have subs. It's a hoagie. Yeah, man. Well, that's cool. People might be a little bit confused, but you even though you've been away from Philadelphia area for so long, you are still a diehard Sixers and Phillies fan. You have converted to Lightning and the Bucks, but we still got you on baseball and hoops, so that's nice to know.
Not me in baseball and hoops, but you can see from the background, go Bolts and go Bucks.
Amen. Hey, this has been awesome. Thank you. Gary, I guess I just got to tell you, man, I've known you for a long time, and I'm proud of you as a human and as a leader and as a man. I have had the privilege of being in touch with you and for the duration, being able to, not the duration, but for the last more than 10 years, and watching you excel and accelerate and be great and be amazing. So, congratulations, brother. I'm really excited for you
Thank you, and
and grateful.
thanks for your partnership and all the training you provided to me and other peers in the industry that have taken a lot of your teachings and insights to make us all a lot better at what we do. So thank you.
Beautiful. Thanks, brother. Appreciate you, man.
Take care.
I've always, how you say I get a really good vibe from her or from that guy. I've always gotten such a great vibe from Gary Weiss. And I'm really so excited for his success, and his company is really, truly killing it. This is public information. He didn't say the details, but I'll just let you know. And he said that they quadrupled in size. That was from 20 million to 80 million in 3 years. That's amazing, but not surprising. It's incredible leadership. The will and the self-awareness, the will and the skill, not the same thing. Hiring the right person versus the best one. These are some really cool distinctions. Execute with extreme prejudice. Did not understand what he meant by that at first, and it's decisiveness. Not being afraid of being wrong. Staying offensive-minded. Don't let perfection be the enemy of good. We empower our people to think. It's good stuff. So, and then of course what he and his wife Jody are doing for the world on a personal level at home is nothing short of angelic. So, I don't know if you caught it, but he said if you have any interest, in participating on any level from minuscule to massive, then you can just go Google foster care in blank your county. So I live in Maricopa County, so I would Google foster care in Maricopa County, and you can make any level of contribution that's comfortable for you if that's something that you're interested in. All right, folks, until next time, thank you for tuning in to Tough Talks and Great Miracles.